Well, I want to start off by thanking our crowd and our fans. Our last two home games have been embarrassing. We know that. I mean, we've talked about that we wanted to play better at home for our fans. And man, I'm really proud the way they did it. I can't thank them enough for showing up today. I thought it was a great atmosphere, especially with a lot of our students, at home for Thanksgiving. And then, man, I can't thank our seniors enough. We have such great leadership on this team. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I don't know if I've ridden more of the highs and lows of a season than this season. And for them to be able to do what they did, this is a lot of credit to the coaching staff and the quarterback and the offensive line. But this is the first time in the history of Texas Tech that you've had a 1,000-yard receiver and a 1,500-yard rusher. Josh Kelly went for 1,000 yards. Went over today, and then Taj Brooks. That's why we wanted to make sure that last part, ask him if he wanted to try to get over 1,500, and he did. Man, I can't thank those guys enough. The 8 wins are really big for us. The one thing that we didn't reach our goal where we want to be. We want to be playing in Dallas next week. That didn't happen, but to be able to do something like this where you get to 8 regular season wins, that hadn't been done since the late, great Mike Leach. And so we take a lot of pride in that. We talked about that a lot this week. Whenever you start talking about leaving your legacy as a senior, the things that you've done, that was important to them. And then, it's not about this game, but I do want to make a statement. I heard Chris Kleiman the other day, and I want to make a statement for this conference. I don't know if he read it. I hadn't looked at my phone yet, but Kirk Herbstreit's a really good friend of mine. Had the opportunity to play in the Herbstreit Classic whenever I was in high school against Cincinnati LaSalle, one of his Ohio teams. We beat the hell out of them, by the way. But I sent him a text, and man, I think the narrative of college football right now is really screwed up, and I'm gonna kind of talk about that. It comes down to a patch, I guess, that's on your jersey, because, now stick with me, if Texas wins the SEC, that means a Big 12 team from last year won the SEC. If Oregon wins the Big 10, that means a Pac-12 team won the Big 10. And if Arizona State, not whoever's playing, but Arizona State's got a chance to play in the Big 12 championship, so that means a Pac-12 team won the Big 12. And then if SMU wins the ACC, that means an American team won the ACC. So I think it's absolutely embarrassing what this football committee and, we got to back up what we need to do on the field so they get pissed off at me. But it's absolutely embarrassing what they're doing to this conference. And if they look at it that way and they sit there and say, who's playing the best football, who's the most competitive conference, who week in and week out, what you see on tape and the games that you got to play, I think the Big 12 should be in. The Big 12 champion should be in the Final Four, right? And then when teams are talking about multiple teams, depending on who plays in that game, they should have multiple teams. I think it's absolutely ridiculous what is happening at that level, at that committee, and just go back and think about that. I guess whenever you're a year away and you just change your patch on your jersey, that it actually means something, that you're in a different conference and that conference is all powerful. I mean, we all saw last night what the ACC did, to the team that's going into the championship of the SEC. I mean, Georgia Tech had played a great game, got to watch every second of it, man. And I was rooting for him, especially because, the quarterback's, his dad's a great friend of mine, and he's such a special kid. But I just think we need to relook at this and quit looking at what patch and what logo it says on your jersey of what conference you're from, and look at the tape. I know some of the guys on there. I'm shocked that some of the old football coaches that know what they're looking at are not having more of an influence whenever it comes to that committee. So I hope they do. And man, that's my deal for the Big 12, because I'm proud to be a part of this conference. I think it's great football, and man, excited to see what happens. Man, just proud of these guys. What a great day for Texas Tech and for these seniors. With that, questions.
Start with Collier in the middle. Coach, you guys have had a lull in the second quarter for a while now. Was that the most complete second quarter you guys have played in conference?
Yeah, without a doubt. The lull kind of came in the first quarter because we couldn't get in the end zone, even though I was a little surprised that ball didn't get overturned. I thought Mason got a foot in for a touchdown, and we had to kick a couple of field goals. I thought that, the tempo that we played with today, really we've played the last 2 weeks. It's the second week in a row we scored over 50 points. I thought Barron was really locked in. I thought, we didn't give up a sack. He got hit a couple times today, but we didn't give up a sack today, and we played really well in that second quarter.
The defensive side of the ball as well. I mean, 2 forced turnovers and a couple of sacks. Yeah,
I thought I was really proud of the defense and the players because, man, we're banged up. We lost Duda in the Baylor game, and then we lost Quincy Ledet last week. We lost DB Carroll last week. So now you're going, to some young D tackles. And, I thought James Hanson, a senior, I thought he played really well. I thought Jaden Cofield showed up, and was running the football, had a couple of big plays, one on a screen, and one he was able to not give up the 2-point conversion, or I think it was a 2-point conversion when they threw it to number 74. And then we got pressure on the quarterback. Those two things, when you can get pressure on the quarterback and you can cause turnovers, that leads to second quarters and games like this. So I was excited for that.
All right, Coach. Now, of course, Taj didn't make the finalists for the Doak Walker list, but again, he had another phenomenal game, matched his career high in rushing yards or surpassed it, and added more to his touchdown totals. I just want to know your opinion about him missing out on that, and then just following that up with another huge game.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from the guys that were there, but it's embarrassing that Taj wasn't there. I mean, whenever you look at what he's done, not just his career-wise, what he did this year, number one, I think all of those guys played in 12 games. Taj played in, 11. I could be wrong, but I think one of them didn't have 100 yards in a game. Taj went over 100 yards in every game that he played in. It's frustrating. And then the other thing that I look at is whenever you walk away, and I imagine one of the three will do this, but Taj is walking away as the all-time leading rusher for his school, and there were 2 Doak Walker winners at his school. I mean, 2 of the best college running backs when you're talking about Bam and you're talking about Hanspard. And for Taj not to be there, man, it's really frustrating. I hate it, for him. But he's gonna have a great NFL career, and I'm really happy that what he did for us this year. And I was happy that he was able to get that standing ovation today in Jones AT&T.
Coach, strong start or strong finish to the season. I'm curious though how you feel like your coordinators did on the year, both offense and defense.
Yeah, it's something that really the last few weeks, we've been trying to reflect on how we get better. I think that offensively, the last 2 weeks we played really well. We played with a little bit more tempo, and then defensively played well today. But whenever you look at the stats overall, defensively, we're going to be a lot of hundreds. And you can't win. It's kind of a, I don't know, Debbie will make fun of me of using the wrong word or something because she made fun of me last week. I didn't mean to say goodest. I was saying as good a person, and she was making fun of my grammar. But it's almost crazy that you can win 8 games and have some of the stats that we have. So it says a lot about these guys that just walked in, Josh Kelly and CJ, and just the heart to this team and how hard they play for each other.
After the Baylor loss, I asked you about the lack of physicality, but then today,
yeah,
complete flip. What was the reason for the team to really out physical West Virginia throughout the game?
Yeah, and that's saying a lot because I think, they've got some guys. I think their left tackle is projected a number 1 draft pick and, are really high. The 2 running backs are really, really special. They were coming in. I don't know what we gave up total. We gave it some really late, but I don't know what we gave up total rushing, but they were rushing for 197 yards a game, one of the best in the country. And I thought we did a good job. I know in the first half, we stopped the run, and I just think we've got to continue to grow with that, and that's going to be a big part of this offseason. We got to put on more mass. We've got to be a bigger football team. If you can get, I know it sounds crazy to be saying 190 pounds is a big, but like Mo Horn, he had I thought he had a really good year. He had a great game today, but that's one thing that's going to be one of his goals. I mean, we just got to get bigger, stronger and continually be more physical.
Coach, coming into the year, you mentioned that the offensive skill was different. You have a 1,000-yard receiver for the first time since 2018. You have Caleb Douglas, who has a really good season as well. I guess looking back at that, how do you feel that you were able to do, evaluating and going through the portal to find those guys?
Yeah, I thought, that's always something that we're trying to continue to get better. James Blanchard, our GM, and his staff and the coaches, I thought that they did a good job. I mean, they identified Josh Kelly early. Once he went into the portal, we had some connections there, but I mean, it was a big deal to get Josh. We knew what he could do. And, it was important today to get him 1,000 yards. Josh and I, as soon as he came off the field, whenever he got it, I gave him a big hug and told him how much I appreciate him because it was a big deal. But, Caleb Douglas, we had a relationship with him before whenever he's coming out of high school. So that helped us with him. And, it's a really, something that we've got to continue to get better at to evaluate these guys. And that's just the nature of the world we live in right now in college football. And I think that's why you're seeing so many teams that can beat each other every single week is, the mixture of the portal and guys being developed. And we got to keep getting better at that.
Go ahead, Jared and Sean, Bill.
Coach, I know it was a big deal last season, the way y'all handled Jacob's red shirt and getting that extra year. Then he goes through senior day to day. Just given the kind of year he's had, I guess, what does that say about him doing that and given kind of the decision he might have to make after the season?
Yeah, we do this every year with our guys that have eligibility left, that have the ability to the opportunity to get drafted. I met with him and his wife on Thursday. We do a presentation with what the scouts are saying, what the NFL are saying, what we have to offer. And so he has a decision to make, to where if he comes out or he comes back. The thing that we always try to do, and we had some guys like that, it's going to be crazy this next semester because there's going to be guys, you got to get to 105, and so there's going to be some guys that are going to have to leave Texas Tech. And so not all of them, but some of them that I was like, hey, if there's any chance that you're not going to be back, I don't want you to miss the opportunity to walk out there with your parents. We believe in memories and moments and things that we're trying to create together, and I don't want them to miss that opportunity. So you had some guys like that have a chance to come back, kind of like Taj. Taj, he got to walk twice because he walked last year and he walked this year, and thank God he came back. And so we're gonna present everything we can. I want Jacob Rodriguez back. The one thing that I always tell my guys is if you're supposed to come out, I'm going to tell you to come out. I don't want you to come back. If you're supposed to come back to where you can push your draft stock up, then I think it's, really important to come back. So we'll see. That's up to him. And it was funny. His wife, who is an absolute rock star, and she's a helicopter pilot in the military, she asked a lot more questions than he did. So we all know who's tougher whenever it comes to that. I might start recruiting her and see if she's got any eligibility.
Coach, with the youth of the defense showing up today, Dingle, Horn, Jordan, Tillman, what's the future for Red Raider defense?
One of the things is we got to make a huge improvement this spring. The thing whenever you're playing in all these one-score games, there's always reasons, and that's one of them. You've got to be able to play better defense and get off the field, and then when you do hit lulls on offense, you're able to get the ball back, get it punted, and so we got to continue to grow. I do think, these four guys that just walked in the room, although Barron's sorry tell, luckily we got him back, but those other three that came in, we're really lucky to have those guys. They've been great leaders. And so, like, our secondary is just going to continue to grow because they had a leader like C.J. Baskerville. You saw what Jacoby Williams can do, and you saw Cam Dickey earlier. He had a little hamstring, so he didn't play today. But that's because of Taj Brooks, the leader that he is, and we'll just continue to see those young guys grow. But we got to play better defense. Part of the reason we're not playing next weekend is because, we're not playing well enough on both sides of the ball.
Cool. Phil, then we'll finish with Don.
You look back at the season, I know you got one more game to go, but your big wins this year, you probably would agree, Arizona State and Iowa State, and the one you said, dang it, I wish we could have gotten it, was the TCU loss.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a darn good year.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You're right. Whenever you sit there and look, Arizona State's playing as well as anybody, and Kenny's done a great job with them. That's a great running back that's getting a lot of pub. We held him to 60 yards rushing, and we really played a great game that week. And then we went to Iowa State, who was at the time ranked number 11 in some, crazy weather, and found a way to win a game at the end, and so I think those are big. And that's the thing that keeps you up at night. And, it will keep me up, and it's part of what I have to do and what we have to do as a coaching staff and a strength staff and a training staff and a nutrition staff. Everybody, we've got to get better, because if it is Arizona State and Iowa State that are playing next weekend in the Big 12 championship, which I think they've got the tiebreakers, we beat both of them, and it's frustrating that we're not. And so we've got to really push ourselves. When you have this eighth win to where we can look back and say that we did some good things, that's going to help us in the off season. That's going to push us in the off season. And then we have some good guys coming back. We've got some holes to fill, and I feel like we're going to sign a really good recruiting class on Wednesday, and so I'm excited about the future.
All right, we'll finish with Don.
Joey, going back to the guys who went through senior day, a couple of those receivers in particular, I think have eligibility left, like Jordan Brown and Brady Boyd, guys who have played some. What's your expectation for them?
Yeah, it's decisions, kind of the same, but that was one thing with them that I wanted them to understand. Like if this was it, or if it was, that they will, because both of them have graduated. They both have their degrees. And so it's one of the deals of like, I just don't want, it's important to me. It's really important to me for guys not to miss moments in their life, because they're going to be a 53-year-old guy like me. And, you always tell them, and I learned this from Henry Teeter, who learned this from his dad, you don't regret the things you do. You regret the things that you didn't do. Whenever you look back on your life, it's usually not the things like you might wish, man, I might not have, should have done that because it wasn't very smart to do at the time, but that's not usually the regrets. It's the one that you don't do. The regrets come from the things that you don't do. And I don't want these guys to have any regrets if they look up and they're through with football, or if they decide to do something else. I want to make sure that they had the opportunity because they earned it. They've put a lot of sweat and blood, sweat, and tears into this program. So I wanted to make sure they had that opportunity.
Also, Barron today became the first Tech quarterback to start every game since 2016, and the first one not to miss a start because of injury since 2017. To what extent did y'all kind of accomplish what you wanted with him in terms of kind of being ready to answer the bell each week this season?
I'll tell you, I could think of a couple of guys off the top of my head, and they're not Red Raiders, so I'm not going to bring them up, but he's one of the toughest players I have ever been around in my life. I mean, if y'all could see, and he would wear it every week, what he had to go through last year to get ready to play every week and give us an opportunity to win and get us into a bowl game and play great in that bowl game. And then this year, I think, and Taj probably knows better because he's been around him longer and knows, but I don't know if I've seen more of a growth in a player from the standpoint of a leadership, changing his body. He's in here so I can make fun of him, but, he had a dad bod last year. I mean, I was surprised he ever took his shirt off. And if he did take his shirt off, any girls would date him, and he actually, I'm telling y'all, like he changed his body. It has a lot to do with our medical staff and our strength staff. Our medical staff, Mike Ramirez, went out of his way to find the experts to go through the things that he needed to do. Y'all know we went to Jacksonville last year with all the PT stuff. And then our strength staff, especially Lance Barlow, our head strength coach, I mean, he and Barron spent a lot of time together building his upper body strength and putting him in a good position to be able to go out every week. And man, I'm proud of him. I mean, he did some great things. I know what he did today, but I don't have the numbers what he did on the year. But the other thing that I thought that he really did, and what we asked, you look at us the first 2 years, we're absolutely, I mean, it is a bad stat of us being in the negative whenever it comes to turnovers. And one of the things that we really focused on in the spring and in camp was taking care of the football. And as many times as we throw the football on this offense, I thought that he did an absolutely incredible job. And we'll end up on the plus side. It might only be like 1 or 2, but we're going to end up on the plus side. And if you can end up on the plus side of turnovers throughout the year, then that's a big gauge of you winning games.
All right.
Thank y'all so much.